magandang umaga sa lahat. Maayong buntag and ngan mo pa'y nga aga. So good day and welcome to the 17th session of the UP Manila Silab Webinar Series IOL 2025. I'm Gabby Velasquez and I'll be your host for today's session. So it's a pleasure to have you all here with me as we work together to share knowledge and collaborate in the field of digital health. So just an overview, at UPM Silab, our mission is to strengthen digital health capacity here in the Philippines, driving progress toward universal health coverage. And this year, our focus extends beyond our team. So we are committed to empowering our broader community with valuable insights in digital health, interoperability, artificial intelligence or AI, cybersecurity, and health data standards. And today we're excited to bring you our fourth community-led webinar session, the IOL 201 Community Connect, leveraging electronic health records for UHC, key lessons from North Bohol. So this session will highlight the technical, organizational, and behavioral factors that help or hinder both the use and full functionality of EHRs within the North Bohol Primary Care Provider Network. So we hope you're excited to learn, share, and connect with our fellow members of Community of Practice. Also, we extend our sincere gratitude to our partners for their unwavering support in making this webinar series possible. We have the Cesaro Australia through the Strengthening Standards Capability Project, or the SSTP, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, or DFAT, and of course, the Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, or the DOST-PCHRD. Okay. Again, just a quick reminder before we proceed with our session. Here's a rundown of the house rules. So this session is already being recorded, and by proceeding with the meeting, you are consenting to be recorded. I request everyone to kindly stay muted throughout the lecture. A virtual background has been provided to your email, so turning on your camera is very much appreciated, especially later during the Q&A and the photo op. And then we encourage everyone to please change your name for proper identification, and please add your affiliation beside your name for proper recognition. So an example is shown on the screen. And yes, we want this session to be engaging and interactive. So there will be a Q&A portion after the lecture. So please actively participate and don't hesitate to ask your questions. So you have three options. You can either use the raise hand function, or you may type in your questions in the chat box, or if you want to ask anonymously, we have enabled the Q&A button of the Zoom function. Okay, do not forget, please do not leave the session after the Q&A. We will be having our photo group taken. And of course, lastly, to receive your electronic certificates of participation, please complete the evaluation form after this session. Note that the criteria to obtain your certificates have been provided as well in your emails. Okay. And since this is a community-led webinar session, I am inviting new friends and colleagues to join UPM Silab's Community of Practice, which is a group of experts and practitioners all passionate about advancing standards and interoperability in healthcare. So you may sign up to receive our newsletter and join our WhatsApp group, or you can scan the QR code on screen. So please join our group and receive updates from UPM Silab. Of course, everyone is welcome, so we'll be pasting the links shortly as well. Okay, thank you, Sir JR, for sending it over in the chat box. And before anything else, just a quick question for everyone. May I know where all you connecting from? So please feel free to share your city or region in the chat box, or even country, perhaps if you're not from the Philippines. So let's see where everyone is joining us from today. So of course, I believe we have audiences as well from Bohol. So we have from Marikina City, Parañaque City. Okay, so chats are coming in already. So we have guests from QC as well. Oh, great. We also have participants from Cebu. Thank you po. Maupay na aga. Ay, sorry. That's Waray pala. Mayong buntag sa inyo diha sa mga taga Cebu. Okay, so we have from Manila City, Philippine Hospital Association from Quezon City. Thank you so much po for joining us today. So we have also participants from Silang Cavite. Oh, great. We also have from Baguio po. Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Okay, are there any other entries po ba from the audiences today? Okay. Sige po. Keep your chats coming. So, the chat box is open naman. Okay, so we have from Dasma as well. Thank you po for joining us today. All right. So now for today's agenda, may I introduce our esteemed resource speaker for this session of IOL 21 Community Connect. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce today's speaker, an outstanding public servant and passionate health advocate, Dr. Reina Juno Sumatra. Dr. Juno served as a rural health physician under the Doctor to the Barrios program of the Department of Health, where she tried to bring health services to the most vulnerable and underserved citizens of Danau, Bohol. And during her stint, she championed health governance, nutrition, and telehealth. For her innovations, she was honored as the most outstanding doctor to the barrio at both the national and regional levels for the batch 39 Sinagtala academic year 2022 to 2024. And beyond the front line, Dr. Sumata herself is a published researcher, a seasoned presenter at informatics and public health conferences, and a master's degree candidate at the Ateneo School of Government. So please join me in welcoming an inspiring change maker and an active community member who continues to bridge gaps in healthcare access. We have Dr. Reina Juno Sumatra. Over to you, Dr. Juno. I'll stop sharing my screen.
All right. Thank you so much, Gab, for that kind introduction. And hello, good morning to everyone. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Dennis Batangan, one of my advisors while I was developing this study. So, good morning to all our guests. Um, Today, I will be presenting uh, the results of my study in Bohol. So this is actually part of the requirements of my master in public management degree. So bear with me if the structure is very academic. We will, as much as possible, discuss the key essential points that are important for our community of practice, particularly towards our goal of interoperability in the Philippines. So and now I will be presenting my study on leveraging electronic health records for universal healthcare, key lessons from North Bohol. The Universal Healthcare Act of 2019, or RA 11223, mandates that all health facilities are required to use interoperable electronic health records. To provide a structured framework for assessing and improving local health systems to achieve UHC, the Department of Health has released an administrative order, number 2020-0037, that requires province-wide health systems to have a functional EMR system, as evidenced by the capacity to submit reports to both DOH and PhilHealth. Now, let's first examine what are the differences between an EHR and an EMR. So an EMR is a digital equivalent of paper records or charts that includes patient's medical history, diagnosis, and treatment. This is limited to a single facility. While the EHR is a person's electronic and longitudinal record of health encounters across several facilities over his lifetime. So what's important to note here is that an EMR is limited to a single facility while an EHR spans several facilities. So there are inconsistencies regarding the usage of these terms and the existing policies. For the purpose of this study, we will use EHR as the official term to describe an electronic record that is used across several facilities with a feature of interoperability. So, according to the 2024 LHSML report, Bohol has not yet achieved a functional organizational level under the Information Management System or Info1 because it has yet to achieve a functional EMR system among its health facilities as a key result area. Now, functional level in this policy use the term EMR even if the interoperability features mentioned are technically speaking those for EHR. So 5 years after the UHC has been enacted, Bohol's Info 1 has not yet achieved functional level. This leads us to the question, oh, apologies. This leads us to the question, What are the facilitators and barriers towards the use and functionalization of EHR systems in the primary care facilities of the North Bohol Healthcare Provider Network? Now, I use the term here, primary care facilities, because all 18 RHUs of the North Bohol HCPN are licensed PCF. So Bohol, as part of Region 7, has two HCPNs, the North and the South. So for the scope and limitations, this study included public PCFs in North Bohol, so that included the 18 RHUs. So private PCFs and public hospitals were not included in this study. So the unit of analysis is at the level of the PCF. So the study also identified facilitators and barriers at the facility level. That means um, I also did not include um, deep technical assessments and or staff level use such as clinical decision support such. And the data was gathered during October to December 2024. Thus, later updates or policy shifts may have been omitted. And the study was conducted um, in North Bohol without including South. So this study employed an explanatory sequential mixed methods design. First, a document review of a cross-sectional quantitative survey of 18 PCFs. So here, Bohol is here at the center or at the gut of the Philippines. Um, Based on these quantitative findings from the survey, the study then undertook qualitative data collection through key informant interviews and focus group discussions through stratified random sampling. And then we discussed the findings at the level of the HCPN, at the level of the province and region as well. So all these were used to discuss what are the organizational, technical, and behavioral factors that were underlying the survey results? Then both data sets were integrated to provide a comprehensive understanding, and the data was processed via thematic analysis of the transcribed interview recording. Regression and correlation analysis were also conducted to check for significance of findings. So I would also like to acknowledge the presence of my research coordinator, Dr. Our esteemed USEC, Dr. Mario Villaverde. Good morning, Doc.
Good
So this is
morning.
the good morning, Doc. This is the conceptual framework of this study. For the inputs, we have technical, organizational, and behavioral factors. For the EHR processes, a scale was used to symbolize that barriers and facilitators may tip off the system towards better or worse health system outcomes. So for the outputs or outcomes, we're looking at streamlined FHSIS reporting, improved PhilHealth claims, and stronger data management for both decision and policy making. So this framework also shows that health financing can act as a feedback mechanism into the system, whether it can, which will affect EHR implementation, we'll see later. For the results, all PCFs, that's 18 or 100% in North Bohol, exclusively use iClinicSys. So iClinicSys is an EHR. It's also considered a health information system. But for this talk, we will use EHR as the official term for it for now. This indicates a near universal utilization, surpassing the national rate of 94.25%. Before proceeding to the, so this is used. So everyone in North Bohol is using iClinicSys. And now we ask, how about its function? Is it functional? But before we proceed to the results, let's review what functionality means. So according once again to the DOHA Administrative Order 2020-0037, um, a fully functional EHR reports to both PhilHealth and DOH. So PhilHealth through claims processing and DOH through FHSIS reporting. Now, DOH Region 7, Center for Health Development, has created their own scale to further show the levels of functionality. This is Region 7 based. So, um, according to the functionality levels based on the scale of Region 7, only functional level 3 is considered functional according to the AO of DOH. So let's review. Um, Level 0 means inactive or not using an EHR. Level 1 means there's basic use. So either for claims or patient records, let's say. Functionality level 2 means using both for EMR and claims. So facility use and also telehealth reporting. Now, functionality level 3 means active or fully functional. That means it uses all of those functions as well as being able to generate the FHSIS report. So let's look at the functionality status of the PCFs. Okay, so results revealed that I'm showing here both Bohol and North, North lang. So again, there are two HCPNs in Bohol, North and South. So here, all all 18 PCFs of North Bohol is at functionality level 2, which means it's still considered non-functional according to the AO. So that means all facilities in North Bohol uses the iClinic SIS for EMR as an EMR for recording patient medical records and claims processing, but not yet able to generate FHSIS report. However, there's one facility in Bohol that is able to use all features and is considered fully functional. So let's look at what are the facilitators and barriers towards the use of the EHR. So for the key facilitators, this study found these factors through thematic analysis. Um, but for the purpose of the interest of time, we will only be discussing the top or key facilitators. Okay. So for the key facilitators, this study found that the PCFs use their EHR because it is required by PhilHealth for claims processing. Next, peer support among staff has also been identified as a key facilitator. And finally, high-level buy-in and policy framework through MOAs and SP resolutions are also found in North Bohol. The key barriers are mostly related to system, technical limitations, particularly frequent lags and downtime, as well as staff-related barriers. We will discuss them one by one. Now let's look at our first major facilitator, which is PhilHealth. Nearly all facilities um, cites PhilHealth requirements as their top reason for using electronic records. So this shift dates back to 2017 when the hybrid e-claim circular and later consulta policies tied reimbursements to EMR usage. Now, one encoder even said, we only use iClinics for claims, which actually speaks volumes. Meanwhile, another big facilitator is peer support. I love how a focal person put it. He said, we never judge staff for small data mistakes. We always say, sige lang mama, repair na. Yeah. It's okay, we can fix this. Um, because of that kindness, even older staff feel comfortable exploring iClinics without fear of blame. Moving on, there's also high buy-in and a solid policy framework. Every PCF in North Bohol has a MOA and SB resolution for iClinics, largely due to the requirements of the DOH administrative order for LHSML, since Bohol is a UHC integration site. So we are required to have an EHR. There's also a DOH memorandum mandating iClinics uh, for FHSIS reporting. So even those who weren't using iClinics before 2022 and had third-party AHR providers, they were forced to switch at that point in time. Though later, DOH released another circular clarifying that third-party systems can still be valid and they can use both. Um, However, most facilities in Bohol still stuck with iClinics. Interestingly, functional EHRs are part of the LGU Health Scorecard just this year. So LGUs really have an incentive to comply with their functional EHR systems. And once again, we have 100% MOA and SB resolution for iClinics. Now let me share why system constraint became the top hurdle in the survey. So these are the challenges, limitations, and gaps in the current EHRs used by the North HCPN. So, um, on closer look, if you say system issues, this can actually be looked at multiple points, right? Like some facilities can have computers with low specs, so the software lags. Others have decent devices, maybe like gaming level of specs, but uh, but poor connectivity, which makes iClinics seem unresponsive. Sometimes the server itself undergoes maintenance and staff can't log in at all. No, so in Region 7, we actually have a chat group, no, composed of EHR focal persons, together with the regional ICT unit staff. We have together with us one of the DOH7 ICT unit staff, Ma'am Rachel. Hello, ma'am. So they have a group chat, no? So sometimes they'll just send messages. They'll ask, "Hello, is the system down or is it just us?" And then the regional ICT will confirm with their system now, oh, ma'am, the system is up. Maybe it's your internet connection or maybe some other factors. And this helps because when you're an EHR focal person, it's really hard to determine where in the process is the problem. So that helps a bit. Still, these complexities show why technology and infrastructure remain a big challenge for daily EHR use in North Bohol. And for context, since we are with UP Manila Standards and Interoperability Lab, up towards interoperability, it's really hard if the infrastructure itself is still missing on the ground now. So let me show you um, the in-car received signal levels that I was able to collect as I went around Bohol. No, so I checked the in-car signal levels. That means using a mobile phone, I checked kung how high the signal levels are. Okay. So the map reveals large areas of weak LTE coverage, especially in interior and coastal zones. As you can see here, dark gray corresponds to no or low signal. Blue and green means good signal. So you can see the pattern already, no? While orange and red means strong signal. The pattern reveals that good signal is only available at, you guessed it, the municipal centers, usually near municipal halls, right? Like public market, churches. But otherwise, when you're farther from the center, no signal usually is not available. So about 77.78% has unstable internet connectivity inside the PCFs, while the in-car received signal levels reveal that there are large coverage gaps in interior and coastal areas. So, if EHRs are supposed to work for barangay level services, we really need stronger ICT and internet infrastructure beyond the municipality centers. Because if the PCF themselves have unstable internet connectivity, they might try to use mobile data and still not be able to get the signal needed to be able to use their EHR. Also, these technical setbacks affect how staff feel about their EHR. So about 55% of North Bohol PCFs only rate their EHR as fair to poor compared to more good ratings province-wide at the Bohol level. So I conducted a regression analysis on the predictors of EHR satisfaction. No? So the results reveal that higher consulta capitation, longer experience with the EHR, adequate ICT units, stable internet connection, and an MHO who is trained in the EHR make a significant difference in the satisfaction of their EHR systems. And we suspect that if workers feel better about their system, they'll use it more frequently. So better utilization, which is crucial for real-time data entry. Thus, we will have better PhilHealth claims and hopefully FHIS reporting down the line. Now, the EHR software itself may have deeper issues that another study could explore. But we could look at these factors which we could use, no, based on the study findings. So what we can find here for LGUs is that they can provide more ICT units, ensure stable connectivity, and make sure that at least the head of facility is properly trained. Kasi it's the MHO who will talk to mayor, di ba, about funding, about having enough staff, about the full support needed for the functionality of an EHR system. Meanwhile, the PHO can offer ongoing technical assistance. I did not include here, but the DOH Region 7 ICT unit is already giving their technical support, diba, through group chats, having EHR champions for each municipality. So combined, these steps can significantly raise user satisfaction and EHR functionality. In addition, high staff workload compounds everything. So one focal person said, staff multitask, they do field work and still do admin tasks because they lack enough admin staff. That means data encoding often gets pushed aside, or sometimes, or more often than not, they hire data encoders. That means the people who provide the service themselves and ideally should be recording the details of the consult, for example, or the health visit, are not the ones who are encoding in the EHR. So it's separate. Another barrier is limited staff training. In North Bohol, about half. So in the north, about half of municipal health officers haven't received formal EHR training, while the rest of Bohol has a slightly better rate. Obviously, if your head of facility isn't fully on board and trained, advanced features get neglected. That means hanggang claims lang. Sige, we'll just use this for claims because that's what they might see as important. Then all the other advanced features such as possibly referral or data generation, FHSIS reporting are often neglected. Lastly, these are the key barriers to reaching full functionality. So earlier we talked about utilization, so use, paggamit. Now, is it functional? No? Since none of the North Bohol's PCF have a completely functional EHR, according to the criteria set by the AO last 2020, we focus on what was hindering them from full functionalization. So these are the key barriers. One is there is a functional gap in FHSIS reporting. Though iClinicsys has the capacity, we even have one PCF who was able to get to the fully functional node. So the technology itself has the capacity to do it. Local and regional offices still require Google Sheets. So local and higher directives are not consistent. This further perpetuates the ambivalent transition. So the staff themselves have high workload. They are forced to still keep paper-based systems. They don't have internet. They don't have reliable power in some areas. So they still stick to their paper-based systems, and yet they are required to use the EHR. So they have iClinicsys, and at the same time, they are also required to use Google Sheets for FHSRS reporting. So this further adds to the higher workload because of the redundancy of the work. And this is why Silab is aiming for interoperability so that we can reduce these inefficiencies in our system. So next is, then there's low ICT funding and old policy references. So lots of MOAs exist. Okay, we have memorandums of agreement, we have SB resolutions, and but fewer than half have actually enacted local ordinances or executive orders that explicitly fund or operationalize EHR integration. That means high buy-in, we have policies in place, but the execution is poor. And in addition, the SB resolution themselves, I reviewed some of them. They still use the previous reference, which is the Philippine Health Agenda of 2016 to 2020, instead of the UHE Act, which further limits the alignment with the current DOH standards. In short, there are still a lot of PCFs who do not have proper fund allocation for EHR implementation. Finally, low health financing is hurting these PCFs. North Bohol, so this is Bohol province, this is the total PhilHealth claims. North Bohol has their total PhilHealth claims has dropped from 1.17% to 0.6%, even though the overall claims of the province is rising. So that indicates a deeper system inefficiencies that hopefully full EHR functionalization can help address. Health facilities need to achieve self-sufficiency through adequate PhilHealth claims reimbursement, financing, and LGU support for the proper implementation of EHR systems. Otherwise, full functionalization will remain elusive. In summary, okay, all PCFs has an EHR. They use iClinicSys 100%. However, none of them is functional in the eyes of the LHSML framework, or the based on the DOH Administrative Order number 2020-0037. And the key facilitators for the utilization is that, because it is required for PhilHealth claims, peer support helps, high-level buy-in and policy framework, and the barriers to utilization includes the system, technical limitations. We discussed these are on different levels, and this study was not able to fully uh, take a deep dive on all of these systemic problems. And others would be more staff, like high staff workload and limited staff training. For functionalization, we have a functional gap in FHSIS reporting. Hopefully, when our systems are using FHIR servers or FHIR servers, we can minimize these inefficiencies. Next would be low ICT funding and policy deficits, and low health financing. So, in conclusion, North Bohol HEPN has a high AHR utilization and low functionalization rates. The gap stems primarily from frequent system lags or downtime, high workload or time constraints, and the continued reliance on Google Sheets for FHSIS submissions. PhilHealth reimbursements and peer support facilitate basic EHR utilization, and achieving full functionality will require stable budgets, updated local ordinances, ongoing training, and dedicated technical support. Thus, infrastructure and policy gaps need to be bridged. For the recommendations, first, we need to strengthen local policies. And by this, it doesn't mean that we just have policies in place. We really need to be able to execute and implement them well. We need to update these ordinances or resolutions so that they align with the UHC Act and secure adequate budget and support for EHR implementation. Now, this means that we need our leaders, our local chief executives, who are new, who are newly elected, or those who are incumbent as well, to fully understand the importance of having an interoperable and functional EHR system. Simply having a policy in place for compliance is not enough. Second, we need to improve infrastructure. You've seen the in-car signals in across the Bohol province, and there are many areas who do not have enough coverage for connectivity. So another point that our policymakers and or EHR providers, because though this study is looking at iClinics itself, this can still be used by other EHR providers, that they could explore offline options for EHR in areas with weak or no internet. Third, sustained training. We know that um there's a rapid turnover of staff in multiple areas. And for example, even for me as a DTTB, our tenure lasts only 3 years, and another DTTB could come in, and yet another set of training is needed, so that these areas are not left behind. And it is very important to identify EHR champions for each facility to further strengthen good EHR culture and peer support. Fourth, we need to prioritize FHSIS reporting through iClinicsys, so we eliminate parallel Google Sheets. And this is a recommendation for Bohol because we use iClinicsys. But for other areas who are using their different EHRs, I think this is a national priority to be able to really integrate the different reporting systems, and to have a platform of interoperability to reduce inefficiencies in data management. Um, and fifth, embed EHR in ongoing M&E. So though it's already part of the LGU Health Scorecard, and this is new, no, just last year lang siya na-incorporate, we can still push and integrate it into the Seal of Good Local Governance to further ensure LGU support. By aligning policy, strengthening ICT infrastructure, and sustaining training, we can truly leverage electronic health records for universal healthcare, transforming partial adoption into fully functional EHR system for North Bohol and the Philippines. Thank you for your kind attention. I would just like to acknowledge the key figures who helped in the development of this study. So my advisor, Asek Noel Macalalad, Yusek Mario Villaverde is also here, and as well as Dr. Dennis Batangan. And Doc Elo is also here. Thank you so much, Doc. Our PHO, Dr. M.M. Uy, and our regional director, Dr. Jaime Barnales. As well as the PHO team, I saw Sir Jeremy Cuaco is also here, and our ICT unit. So thank you so much for listening.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Juno, for that very insightful presentation. All right, before we proceed to the question and answer portion, again, as Dr. Juno already acknowledged, but I would like to acknowledge them again. Thank you for joining us po, Dr. Maria Villaverde, Dr. Dennis Batangan, Asad Noel Macalalad, and even the guests po from the DOH Bohol. So we have Sir Jeremy Cuaco. Thank you po for joining us today. And okay, so now we move on to question and answer. So I believe we have already questions from the group. And again, reminding the participants that you have three options. You can use the raise hand function, or you may type in your questions in the chat box. Or if you want to ask anonymously, we have enabled the Q&A button for you. Okay, so sir, Doc Juno, first we have a question here. Is this already published po, yung study? And if not, where can we access a copy of the study? Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm still in the process of publishing the full paper. So these are just the key results that I was able to present. I think this is less than 50% of the paper. Thank you so much. I will update when the paper will be out. Thank you.
Yes. Sobrang congrats, Doc. I really enjoyed po the presentation and learned a lot, no? Yeah. Okay, so I'll just read the comment of Dr. Alvin Marcelo. Yes, compliance is important, but it's not enough. So we need to build more capacity for data management and FHSIS reporting. Okay, so here we have a question from Sir JL Delisay po. On the requirements that EMRs must generate FHSIS reports to be considered functional, is there any DOH guidance about what those reports should include? And for instance, if an EMR generates an FHSIS report with only one patient, does that meet the standard? Or are there minimum data requirements to be considered valid?
Thank you so much for that wonderful question, Sir Jaya. I think many EMR providers also would want to ask this. So, what I can say is what I knew as of December 2024, which was it's still not final at that point in time. So now it's July. So I don't know yet if there are policy
Changes.
updates or specific, let's say, specific templates as to what specific data they need. For now, I cannot answer that question. I'd ask if Ma'am Rachel Sumalinog is here from DOH. Let's just ask DOH CHD7 as well as PHO Bohol, Sir Dan Blake Bantugan and Sir Jeremy Cuaco is also here. If they have updates on if DOH already has issued clear guidance on the specific EMR generated reports. Because as of December 2024, there was still no clear guidance by then. Can we have Ma'am Rachel from CHD7 if she has any inputs or if we have from DOH as well?
Good morning, everyone. So thank you for
Morning.
bringing that up. Since I am here on behalf of Sir Marty Manayo, no, who is currently attending the another important matter. So for that matter, Doc, I'm not sure if there is. So I will just relay that concern, Doc, as of the moment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Rachel. I think it's still in the works. I do know that it is part of the timeline to for all EHRs to be able to produce FHSIS reports. But thank you, Sir JL. For now, hindi pa siya clear cut. So we will update you in our COP group chat. Thank
Thank you po, Ma'am Rachel, for supporting po the question. Thank you again, Doc Nuno, for that. So there's a follow-up question. You mentioned an outlier facility that reached functionality level 3. What are they doing differently than the rest? Yes.
Thank you so much for that question, Sir Les. Yeah, I actually visited the facility themselves. I was like, how can you do it when everybody else can't? Like, di ba? Parang, so what I found out was that they actually started since 2018. And so meaning that was before the pandemic hit. And it was actually peer support. It's not even policy. I asked if they have an ordinance. Kasi sometimes, di ba, people would say, oh, kasi we have an ordinance, we have full support, we have the budget. Like, that's what you'd think at the top of your head. But when I went there, they only have MOA and SB resolution, which is similar to what everybody has. So it's like, that's not it. There's something else that's there. And then the MHO is actually has just retired this year or late last year. So he wasn't also hands-on in using the EHR for data encoding. So he has a set of data encoders. So it's not like you'd think, 'di ba, na parang siguro bata pa yung MHO na parang they're very techy, na they want to use to they're good advocates of digitalization. Like that's not exactly it. How I see it is really the peer support. They have a good dynamics. They have a good culture. And that's what I mentioned there. Now we need to have EHR champions and we need to develop the EHR culture. Unfortunately, I was not able to fully flesh out what an EHR culture should look like. No, but it was such a breath of fresh air when I saw na when I talked to them, parang ganito siya, parang all the excuses that other facilities would say. Like for example, older staff might say na, ay dok, parang malabo na yung mata ko, ano na, ayoko na mag-computer, sila na lang. All these excuses, like they're not in that facility. Like even the older midwives, even those who have really difficulty in using the system, they are so excited to use it. And considering the timeline, no, I think the consulta only started like in very recently, no, for the past 3 years. So at that point in time, there wasn't even that much incentive to fully use the system, and UHC implementation was not strong in how do you call it, like in enforcing the functionality level, but it was their own it was their own personal motivation. Now they want to have a good data management system. They have their PHN and their EHR focal person are really good, and you can see it. You can see it when you talk to them. Unfortunately, I cannot operationalize these words like technically speaking, but in general, it's the culture. They have a really good culture.
That's
Thank you.
very interesting, Doc, no? So enthusiasm and productivity of the staff itself, very important. I think in any organization naman, not just in a facility. So, and siguro they're very inspired by their leaders as well. Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting to know. Thank you po for asking that question, Sir Les. Okay, so any questions from the group? Okay, here we have. Has the DOH responded to these findings? Are there any ongoing discussions to adjust them at the policy or operational level? I think this was answered already, so it's still in the works. Yeah. Okay, so a question from Dr. Alvin. Are there separate telemedicine or referral tracking systems in the region? Or does iClinics already have referral tracking or telemedicine built? Doc Juno?
Okay.
Thank you, Doc Alvin, for the question.
Yes. Thank you for the question. So, um, I'm just looking for the actual question here. Okay, so in Region 7, we actually have a separate telemedicine and referral tracking system. Interestingly, the referral system was created first before the telemedicine. And I'm happy to share with everyone that our telemedicine, I think, I forgot, Ma'am Rachel, do we call it module? Parang
We
telemed
have, okay, thank you, Doc.
Go,
Good
Ma'am
morning,
Rachel.
everyone. So, we have, for the information of everyone, so Region 7, we have our initiative to have the referral system, no? So, a referral system was in place already, and all the facilities, including the private and the public facilities, are using it. So now we are still we have already launched the telemedicine. So maybe this year it is incorporated, no, incorporated in the referral system. So one system lang siya. Then we have the referral and the telemedicine. So maybe hindi ko lang sure, no, hindi lang ako sure kung this maybe third quarter, fourth quarter, but maybe this year siguro i-launch yung telemedicine natin. So thank
Thank,
you.
thank you so much, Ma'am Rachel. So, ayun, sabi ni Sir JL, yes, idol namin yung referral system talaga ng Region 7. One of the best, if not the best. Bias pala ako. One of the best in the country na institution developed na referral system. So, we're still developing, though the telemedicine, slowly may pilots na din kami. So, ayun, we're just waiting for the actual full-blown implementation of it. And then, I'll just, sorry, Gab, I'm reading na din the questions now, no? So, Sir Jay also asked if the DOH has responded to these findings and are there ongoing discussions to address them at the policy or operational level. Thank you so much for pointing that out kasi as I've mentioned in the introduction, this is actually part of my master's na requirement, no, for the degree of public management as a DTTB, and I actually have colleagues with me in my batch who were actually still who were actually looking into the iClinics as well. So how I saw it, how I studied it is at the PCF level of as a unit of analysis in the context of an HCPN given the LHSML. I have other batchmates who were this Dr. Wendell Villanueva also look into it at the staff level, like using the parang technology acceptance na model, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or the basically parang how do they perceive the technology, how do they use it. So there are multiple levels of analysis for now. And in a while, I will also ask Dr. Mario Villaverde if he can share his inputs with regards to the context of health information systems or EHRs. But we are still going to pitch these to DOH. But I'm pretty sure, though not as the study itself as a package, but the key results have already been forwarded to the DOH. Can I ask Doc Mario to share his thoughts and or opinions and tidbits regarding the EHR? Thank you so much, Yusek Mario. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Um,
Good morning po.
this field actually um of the six building blocks of the functional health system, this is the field that I am not really very familiar. But from the perspective of, let us say, the level of policy and decision making, what we actually foresee is something that will integrate all the reporting mechanism into just one system. And if we can, well, I think among the participants in this discussion, we have, I think, people from the DICT, no, very much concerned with the national infrastructure capacity for the entire Philippines, no? Then we also have, well, we have the experts, Dr. Eloy, Dr. Dennis Batangan, Dr. Um, Asek Noel Makalalad are all here. And they can probably be the best experts that we can have when it comes to the design of the system. No? So the infrastructure, the design of the system, and of course the capacity building, which I think will fall mostly with the DOH and the LGUs. No? So all are represented in this forum. But the one that I can see at the decision-making level, if I were still in the DOH, I would like to see that there should be just only one system where you can where you can generate a lot of the data needed at the central office and at its level of the health system. So if we can use, let us say, the electronic health record to generate whatever data is needed for, let us say, the FHSIS as an administrative reporting mechanism and as a record for the morbidity mortality, as well as the data needed for, let us say, the PIDS-R, no? Yung mga disease surveillance notifiable diseases. If that can be generated, no, through the EM or EHR, as well as the referral of the patient to the next level facility, then that will actually simplify the entire system. Because rather than having so many vertical reporting mechanism, iba yung sa TB control program, iba yung sa maternal program, iba yung sa immunization, etc. Dami-dami na yung generate. Very, very, ano na, heavy burden sa ating mga frontline workers. So with just one system, you can generate all these critical needs. And sometimes we need to review what data should really be produced, because sometimes ulit-ulit yan, ano? When Dr. Eric Tayag was the director of KMITS in the DOH, sabi niya talagang hirap yung anong tawag yun, yung interoperability, kasi magkakaiba yung sa pagsulat pa lang ng pangalan. Pag isang system ay inuna ay family name, hindi na siya magkakaroon ng interoperability dun sa system na inuuna ay yung first name. So it's really difficult. So there should just be a development of an entire yung design, no, na mai-integrate lahat yung mga needs na yan, so that we only use the EHR to generate all the other, or to be the source of all the other data needs up to the central level. Now, in relation to the referral system, this also needs to be developed para naman, yung una ko kaninang sinabi sa generation ng mga administrative data that we need, no, to be able to have good policy and to have a better situational analysis of the different programs, no. But the other challenge is the referral mechanism. This system should be able to, be linked to the different levels of healthcare providers, no, for purposes of handling the patient, no, at each level of the referral mechanism. And also, I think very critical in terms of the design is yung telehealth services. Yan ang pinaka-critical, I think. Kasi yung isa, puro record lang yan. Pakialam ko sa record. Ang importante, kung ako ang nasa frontline, yung nabibigay ko yung service. Di ba? So, telehealth. Ang number one problem is the sector that will need, more telehealth services are actually those in the GDAS, para nakaka-reach sa kanila through telehealth services yung mga experts, yung mga specialists. But it is also in the GDAS where the infrastructure is not well developed. So paano mo naman ang objective is yung mga GDAS ay nararating din ng services ng mga specialist, no? Pero yun yung problem din sa infrastructure, yung GDA din yung hindi mo ma-connect, no? Now, when it comes to capacity building, nagtataka ako kung bakit hindi nila gagamitin ito. Ako nga, Viber lang, nakakapag-mentoring na ako. Nakakapag-Facebook nga ang maraming tao, nakakapag-TikTok pa kahit nasa remote area . mga tourist nasa sa remote areas, no? Nasa beachside. Nagti-TikTok, bakit hindi kayang gawin na makapagbigay ng report? So I think this is just a sort of uh, developing the behavior, no? Na dapat nagre-report, nag-fill up nitong mga requirements, no, electronically. But I don't know, maybe the system is at right now just a little more complex than, doing the TikTok and doing the Viber mentoring activities, no. So, yung mga student natin ng DTTB na nasa GIDA talaga, nakakapag-conduct ako ng just using Viber or Messenger, no? Tumatagal kami minsan ng discussion sa kanilang paper for 2 to 3 hours, no? And yet, kayang gawin, ano? So why not this much simpler, reporting mechanism? So I don't know. Those are things that I have been thinking. I'm not the expert in this particular field, but I think the need for decision making is to, have this data, and to have this data, you need to simplify the system and to integrate the system so that our frontliners will not be so much as burdened by this requirements. Okay, so that's all on my part.
Thank you so much po, Doc Mario, for your wise words and also for advocating for interoperable health information systems so that we have less of these inefficiencies and really better decision and policy making support. Thank you so much, Doc Mario. Gab, do we still have time to discuss more questions or will we answer them siguro in another avenue?
Okay, thank you po, Dr. Gino, and thank you, Dr. Mario. So I think we can accommodate one last question. Would that be okay, Dr. Gino? Okay. So here we have a question. So does our continued reliance on paper-based reports, despite having electronic health records, reflect a deeper issue of trust in digital health systems? And how does the DOH, and how do you think the DOH plan to address this cultural barrier?
Thank you, Sir JL. Yeah, I think this is a really full-blown systems analysis that we have to look into. What my study found is that the infrastructure on ICT and power internet connectivity was a heavy factor on why they still use paper-based reports. And uh, I hope we could have more studies in the future that will look at the cultural aspects of it, 'di ba? I'll just share one example. In one PCF kasi sabi niya, the previous CHR focal person, ang term doon is parang um sorry, it's Bisaya. But anyway, the point is uh ayaw na nilang gumamit ng system kasi before daw they used it and then nawala lahat ng data nila. So they had to type everything again. So parang they were betrayed once and then they lost the trust moving forward. So that's also one thing we have to look into, no. Now I'm not sure yet if DOH itself is the right avenue to be addressing these cultural barriers kasi LGU has a good LGU is in the best position to actually fix all the operational barriers actually. Coming from my stint as a DTTB, DOH offers policies. Um they can set the systems, for example, na parang these will be our advice, these are the guidelines. Pero when it comes to like the nitty-gritty details of how we are going to implement this, uh unfortunately for now, hanggang facility level siya. And I hope our community of practice, and I am inviting everyone to join, is we could share best practices of the different communities. Kasi, like I've said earlier, one PCF was able to do it. And it was not all the clear-cut parang knee-jerk na parang um strategies. Para it's culture. That's how I saw it. And I hope we can make a written document on this so that we could actually um provide standards to other facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Juno, for that. And thank you all for your valuable contributions. Again, thank you also for the guest actors. So thank you everyone for sharing your valuable time and expertise with us. So if you have further questions, you may course them through our email or directly to Dr. Juno, or if you're already part of the COP WhatsApp, you can ask your questions there. And okay, so okay, there you go. All right. So now I would like to invite Dr. Alvin Marcelo, UPM Silab convener, to present our certificate of appreciation to Dr. Juno. Dr. Eloy, will you be able to?
Hey, Gabby,
Yan.
before I do that, maybe we can ask Dr. Dennis Batangan for a few words. If Dr. Dennis
Sure.
is ready, yeah, while you're preparing the certificate. Dr.
Yeah,
Dennis,
yeah. Yes, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Eloy. And congratulations, Dr. Juno, and of course to you, PHO Bohol and CHD7, no? Some points siguro lang for no need to respond to siguro if because you actually interrogated the local health system maturity level, HIS. And I think that's a very good contribution to the evolution of the LHSML. Probably a good would be to recommend what would be possibly the next set of indicators. Because as we know, the LHSML is good for the first phase of universal healthcare 2019 to 2025. The next phase we'll hear probably after the SONA later this month as to what the Department of Health would recommend to the President of the Philippines in terms of the UHC implementation. That means we will be moving into the next phase of UHC implementation post-2025. Also appreciate the techno-governance, socio-technical approach, no, particularly highlighting Maribohok or Maribojok, I don't know the pronunciation, in terms of it can be done, no, it's a positive use case, no, that people, process, and technology can converge in one particular municipality, highlighting the fact that a lot of at least from your observations, it's the social cultural context that facilitated the interoperability. Meaning also that interoperability starts with people. People need to accept, be inclusive, no? Meaning if people don't talk, people are not compartmentalized, their respective silos will be compartmentalized as well. Also to appreciate the fact that you did a heat map in-car, no, bagong methodology, in-car signal, which is actually, I think, as valid, no, as kasi kita mo naman yung heat map, no, yung which is very important information in terms of the and hopefully, no, aside from the publication, which we hope that from the Ateneo side, also from the UP side, it can be facilitated that this will be reported formally to the local health board of Bohol and also to the relevant committees at the CHD level, even probably at the national level. Yun lang, maraming salamat, congratulations, and congratulations to the webinar organizers. Magandang umaga po.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dennis. Thank you, Yusek Mark. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Dr. Reyna Juno Sumatra. I'm very impressed with the work that you've done. Gargantuan work to gather the data, talk to the stakeholders, understand where they're coming from, what are their pain points, and then looking for opportunities for improvement. Our health system is in transition right now. We will not achieve universal health coverage overnight, but it is through these events where we come together, we agree to disagree, we debate, we argue, and then we come into consensus and start building the right systems for everyone to use. So thank you, Dr. Reyna.
Yes,
Thank you po, Doc Eloy.
So thank you, Dr. Alvin, for that. Thank you also, Dr. Dennis for the reaction. And now I invite everyone to please turn on your camera. Let's have a group photo. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Okay, so thank you all for joining us today. Remember, the conversation doesn't have to end here. So displayed on your screen is the list of topics for July. So next week, we'll once again have another Community Connect webinar session with Dr. Jaime Punzalan. So that brings us to the end of today's session of IOL 201 Community Connect, leveraging electronic health records for UHC, key lessons from North Bohol. Again, thank you to our dearest speaker, Dr. Juno Sumatra. Very insightful presentation po talaga. And thank you as well to our guest reactors and to all of you for sharing your inputs and expertise po with the group. Once again, thank you all. Let's continue to connect, collaborate, and learn together. This is Gabby Velasquez. Magandang gabi sa lahat. Hasta magandang umaga. See you next week. Bye!